Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to Matt Ridge's coaching show here at the Davidson-Davie County Community College. On the campus of the college, we're here at Brinkley Gym. Coach, we've got a great show for the folks tonight as we wind down 2022. Coach Ridge is going to bring us up to speed on how the season has gone so far. We also have a very special guest for tonight's show. Our guest will be first-year assistant coach and former Storm player Tripp, so we're excited about that. And we want to remind you that you can ask Coach Ridge or Coach Tripp a question via our Facebook link, so we'll be following that as we move along. And we've also got a very big announcement for Storm fans surrounding the kickoff to the New Year game, and we'll kind of save that. We'll talk about that later, a little bit of a tease. We'll talk about that as we get into the program around the New Year's Day surprise with Sandhills. Coach, welcome.
A lot of great things going on. We finished up, as you know, 11-0 in the first part of the season, 8-0 in conference play. So we're proud of where we're at, but we certainly want to base our pride on the future and stay humble. I do want to mention that our college president, who I have so much admiration for, him and his wife Lisa and family, I wanted to share with our listeners. He asked me to let all the believers out there know that he has been diagnosed with cancer, and he's asked for as many prayers as possible. Dr. Hartness is an incredible leader, husband, father. He's been a great employer for I speak on behalf, I think, of the college. Or for me personally especially. So if you can, please keep him in your thoughts and prayers during this challenging time.
Yeah, thanks for kicking us off with that, Matt. And our thoughts and prayers certainly with Dr. Hartness during this time. As you mentioned, we're 11-0 going into the new year, 8-0 in conference play, ranked first in the nation among D2 teams as of tonight. As we head into the Christmas break, give us your thoughts on how the year's gone so far.
It's been up and down. It's been choppy. But when you lose 6 of your top 7, you should expect some of that early on. And I'm really proud that the guys in those 4 close games were able to overcome some adversity and find a way to win. The first one was at Patrick Henry. We won in overtime. And then, of course, at Fayetteville, Texas, which is always a difficult place to play. And then Bryant Stratton, who's ranked in the top 20, I believe they're 15th right now in the country. They're really, really good. They've only lost 2 games on the year. And then, of course, last Wednesday at Lewisburg is always a tough place to play. So proud of where we're at, but obviously we got a lot more bigger games ahead of us. So we're trying to, like I said, base our pride on the future.
Well, the last show that we had here, you mentioned some potential yellow flags that you had seen early in the season. We didn't go into specifics about those yellow flags, but at this stage, do you feel better about those areas of play?
Depends on what day you ask me. Free throws has been very inconsistent throughout the year, even though we shoot them every day. But you can't simulate, or it's difficult to simulate the game-type pressure that they sometimes feel. So much of that's between their ears. And then just focusing and making shots around the basket. I mean, we've had games where we've missed double-figure layups and shots around the basket, which you can't do, especially in the postseason and survive in advance. So we've been focusing on that. And then, of course, our decision-making offensively. We cannot continue to turn the ball over like we did at Lewisburg and continue to win against some of these opponents we have coming up as early as January 1st.
Well, you mentioned, Bryant and Stratton. As you said, they were 15th ranked in the country. Tough team in the conference this year. Let's look at the conference and how it's shaken out at this point. We're, midway through the season. Any surprises in conference play at this point?
Not really. I mean, Bryant Stratton, as we said, they only have 1 loss in conference play to us. But they've played a ton of games on the road. And that concerns me because they're getting a lot of these tough road games out of the way in our league. And they're 6-1. They've played more road games than we have. Catawba Valley's only got 1 loss, which is to us. And Pitt Community College only has 1 loss. So there's 3 teams right behind us with only 1 loss, even though we're undefeated in league play. 3 teams breathing down our neck. And then you got, if you continue to go down, Lewisburg with 2 losses, Fayetteville Tech with 3 losses. They can beat anybody in our league any night. Southwest Virginia is putting up incredible numbers. They're 8-2 overall. So a lot of these teams, even in the middle of the pack, as Patrick Henry showed, can beat anybody on a given night.
Well, it's going to be interesting as we move into the new year. I mean, we haven't seen GTCC yet, or Lenore, or Pitt, and we play Pitt almost, I guess, back-to-back or very close to back-to-back as we kick off the new year. So it'll be fun the second half of the season as we go down the stretch here. We've had 4 games since our last coaches show, and we'll touch on those real quick for our Storm fans. November 30th, Catawba Valley. You guys had a close game at halftime, but you pulled away for a big 107-85 win. Talk about the win and the balanced team effort you had against the Red Hawks. You had 6 guys, I think, in double figures.
Yeah, Miles. I mean, first I want to thank our community and our fans and our parents of our players, because the energy in the gym was certainly contagious with our players. And, you know, it was fun to play in that atmosphere. You know, if and when we do move to another gym, I'm going to miss Brinkley a lot. But, you know, we may not, who knows, but we don't know what the future holds. But at the end of the day, I want to thank our community for coming out that day, because they provided us a tremendous amount of energy. Elin got hot there in the first half. I think he hit 4 or 5 threes. I think he ended with 6 for the game. I think he was 6 of 8. So anytime you shoot the ball well, it hides a lot of weaknesses and things you're doing poorly. Aaron Ross had a great game. If my memory serves me correctly, I think he shot a high percentage from the field, like 7 of 12. I think he also finished with 20. So even though we were really balanced, we had 2 young men with 20 apiece, and they both shot the ball at a high clip. But our kids did a great job recognizing late we needed to go inside to the big boy, and that's Chase Mebane. And we executed some sets down the stretch when the game was close and got him the ball, which we did against Bryant Stratton as well. So I was glad to see that we stepped up to the physicality that Catawba Valley brings, because they are incredibly physical. They had 2 players that absolutely torched us. Number 1, the guard, I don't remember exactly, he had close to 30. And then the big boy, number 5, I think he finished with 17 points and an embarrassing 17 rebounds. I say embarrassing because we didn't block him out clearly. But he's a stud in Shad Thomas. So, you know, they got 2 big-time players, and then they got a lot of really good players around them. So, you know, I expect them to continue to compete in our league at a high level and push for the conference championship.
Well, you moved on to a road win against Southwest Virginia, 121-78. And in this contest, Coach, you jumped out to a really quick lead. You guys had a 66-31 advantage at the break. Talk a little bit about the highlights of that first half and how you were able to jump on Southwest early and get a big lead.
Well, that was a great example of our best offense being our defense. We got so many easy buckets in transition just because we were turning them over and they were taking some quick shots, which led to fast breaks for us. Everybody got to play, I think, except for maybe 1 player on our entire roster, double-figure minutes, which is always nice. I got to rest 3 of our starters the entire second half, didn't even play them. And some of them were, you know, beat up, and we've had some injuries along the way this year, so that was nice to allow some of our guys on the bench to play more minutes at Southwest Virginia. But I was really proud of how we came out of the gate there and really defended and pressured and denied and sped them up and got some easy stuff in transition. And for anyone that watched the game, clearly knows they've got 2 big-time players in number 0 and number 21. I think the 2 of them combined for 62 of their 78 points. So clearly we're going to have to do a better job the second time around in Brinkley Gym on those 2 guys.
So everybody else got 16. You guys forced 22 turnovers in that game. And I mean, great defensive effort, as you said. I mean, Southwest is a team that they put up about 96, 97 points a ball game. So Aaron Ross, I think, and Keith Reese Jr. are 2 I'd like to highlight in this one as perhaps having maybe their best games of the season. Talk about their contributions in that win.
Well, that particular night, Aaron was really good, stat stuffer. I mean, he had like 16, I believe, 7 or 8 rebounds, 5 or 6 assists, 4 or 5 steals. I mean, he was everywhere, getting deflections, getting steals, getting buckets in transition, snagging rebounds. He was really effective and affected the game in a lot of ways other than just scoring. And then Keith was just a grown man on the block. I mean, he had so many, I don't remember exactly how many rebounds, but it had to be close to double figures. And I think he finished with double-figure points as well, so he probably had a double-double. But he played like we wanted to play and just as big as he is. So I was proud of him to come out with that physical energy and toughness and especially confidence.
Well, our next game was December 10th, and it was a non-conference opponent. It's one that you don't see on the schedule a lot, right? I don't know that you guys maybe have ever played Montgomery College before. They came down from Baltimore.
We played them one time. We were D3. They were D3. And it was in the district finals when Coach Tripp actually played for me. And the winner of the game actually went to the Elite Eight. And they led the majority of that game. They had several Division I players. And that group, we had Brandon Rothrock, Ty Hill, and Marquise Wright. And they made some big-time plays the last 4 or 5 minutes. We were down 8. with about 3 or 4 minutes to go and came back and won by almost double figures. So it was an incredible run. Rothrick hit 2 or 3 threes. One was an and one 4-point play. So, yeah, that was a fun game to be a part of because of how we finished the game. And much like a lot of the teams we've had here, those last 3, 4, 5 minutes, you're able to out-execute your opponent a lot of times if you're in better shape, and that's exactly what happened the first time. And I think to some degree, when they made the trip up here to Brinkley Gym, the same thing happened. I mean, the second half, I felt like we were maybe in a little bit better shape. I don't want to speak for their coach, but I felt like the second half, over time, we just out-executed them, especially late in the game when we went to chase inside like we've been doing late in the game.
So as you're putting your schedule together and you're scheduling games for the season, how does someone like the Raptors, how does that happen?
Well, to be honest with you, they called me late in the summer, and our schedule was complete. And there was a non-conference Division I opponent that we were scheduled to play home and home here and there, and they canceled their season, so I had 2 openings. And since Montgomery's staff had called me and asked to come to Brinkley Gym and play, which I rarely get those calls, I called them immediately, and we scheduled the game. So they actually reached out to me to come down here and wanted to challenge us on our own court. So that was really nice of them, and they didn't even ask us to return the favor and come up there next year, which is very unusual. So it was really nice of Montgomery's staff to do that.
So 3 guys I want to talk about in this one, Coach. Jalen King, Jonathan Faust, and Chase Mebane all had big games. Talk a little bit about their contributions to the win.
Well, anybody that's listening, I hope, regardless of what level you're at, if you are used to playing a lot and then you take the next step, whether it be from JV to varsity in high school or from varsity high school to college or whatever, and you're not playing, I would encourage you to try to make your current situation better than to look for a better situation, because I think so many athletes and people in general, they do that, like the divorce rate in our country. And Jonathan Faust last year didn't hardly play, and this year he has started almost every game. He's averaging double-figure points. He's probably been one of our top 2 or 3 most consistent players throughout the whole year, and I couldn't be happier for him because he worked while he waited last year, and now he's reaping the benefits of that. Jalen King played here 3 or 4 years ago, was our leading scorer. Took a few years off, experienced life, and now he's back. He's our leading scorer this year, shooting around 40% from the 3. He's shooting an amazing 93% from the free throw line and averaging a little over 16 points a game. So late in the game at Lewisburg, we were down 1. They hit a shot in the corner for anyone that was watching online. And we had 14 seconds to go, and I told the kids in the timeout, get the ball to Jalen and get out of his way. And we went 1-4, and he just made a play and got fouled and hit the free throws. So sometimes it's not about X's and O's. It's about those Mo's and Jo's and making sure you get the right Mo and Joe the ball. But Jalen there was big. And then, of course, Chase, he just continues to get better and better and better. And this year he's averaging almost a double-double, 14.5 points a game, 8.3 rebounds, shooting 72% from the line. And without him, we would not have won some of these close games. And that's just the bottom line. He is a grown man. He can score inside and out. He's just so much fun to coach, and he's grown so much between his ears in the 3 years he's been here.
You guys led by 4 in that game at the break and then opened up a little bit of a lead in the second half. But, as they say, basketball is a game of runs. And Montgomery made the runs.
Oh, yeah.
But you guys were able to hold them off, and it seemed like every time that they made a run at you, you guys went into Chase, and he delivered. I mean, was that that's your strategy?
Yeah, well, in that game we felt like there was a mismatch with Chase, and it's that way actually a lot of games. Chase is really, really hard to guard, both inside and out. So we ran some sets, and the other 4 guys in the game did a great job of doing exactly what they were coached to do, because if one guy doesn't do their job in a set play, it's not going to work. So I was proud of Chase, of course, but I was proud of the other 4 guys for doing their job. And, we ran 3 or 4 sets to get him the ball in the block, and he had a dunk, I think, on one of them, and a few other layups, and I think one was an and one. So I was proud of the execution late in the game when our guys were not fatigued. And like Coach Mullis has reminded me many, many times over the years, the best conditioned team will win in the end, which is what John Wooden said, and it's very true.
Well, the last game before the break was Lewisburg, and it was a away game. Tough game on the road, close game, 97-94 win for the Storm. You guys trailed at the half.
Yeah.
I think the only other team you trailed at the half by was Fayetteville Tech, maybe, earlier in the season. Where did Lewisburg challenge you the most?
A lot of ways. Number one, we gave up 58 points, and I get fired up just thinking about it in the first half. And we didn't play. I mean, Lewisburg played harder than us that first half. There's no question about it. Lewisburg played smarter. We didn't take care of the ball. We were careless with our passing. And you can't defend 3-on-0, 0 fast breaks. So part of it was us not playing D, but the other part was we were careless with the ball and giving up layups in transition. So we had a couple areas there we had to address. And the first one with the effort is a non-negotiable here at Davidson-Davie. So I made it pretty clear at halftime that was not going to be acceptable. And the guys responded. I mean, they came out of the locker room and went on a big run the first 4 or 5 minutes of the second half, and then it was back and forth. Then they hit the big three in the corner to go up one, and then, of course, we went to King. But giving up 58 points and a half is totally unacceptable. And I know there's a lot of possessions the way we play, and I get all that. But that is something that we as a staff are going to have to do a better job of making sure our kids are ready to play. I told the kids it was a trap game. Going into break, we were 10-0. Going to Lewisburg, who's been preparing for us all semester. Bagwell has had that game circled on his calendar. He's point blank told me that. So I was really happy to get out of there with a win.
Well, the thing I like about this team, Coach, is you're so deep. And every night there seems to be somebody stepping up. It's a different person every night. It can be. And this one, it was Jaheim Taylor. I thought he had one of the best games that he's had all year. I think Jaheim had 23 points or so. Talk a little bit about his game in this one.
Well, I'm glad he stepped up in the second half because at halftime he has 3 or 4 bad turnovers. But he had some amazing finishes. I told him after the game, some of the finishes he had reminded me, and I hope he's not listening to this because I don't want to give him a big head, but it reminded me of Ja Morant. I mean, the way he contorted his body and was able to finish some of those shots, it was truly amazing. But, you know, Jaheim's obviously one of our best players. He's already got a full scholarship offer on the table, and I'm just really proud of him. He's had a great year thus far, and I know going forward he's going to continue to do that.
Well, we mentioned at the beginning of the show that you guys are ranked number 1 in the nation among Division II teams. Now, while this is nice recognition, question for you, Coach, is how do you and Coach Tripp and Coach Allen continue to keep the players focused and humble?
Well, it shouldn't be hard now that I got the film at Lewisburg. But, I mean, you either stay humble or you're going to get humbled. I mean, we almost got humbled at Lewisburg. So when they come back from break, I've got that film ready to show them. I've already clipped it. And I'm going to remind them that if we don't continue to get better, like my high school coach told me, Coach Kent, I hope he's listening, Hall of Fame coach Robert Kent, love him. He said, if you're not working and getting better, somewhere somebody is in your league, and when you meet them, they will win. And we have to continue to get better every day, every week, every month, or down the road, our season will end early. And we want to get back and make a lot of noise in Danville. So when we come back, we have to be humble. And it's my job to find a way to get them humble, even though everybody's patting them on the back and telling them, you know, it's great that you're 11-0, which is great. But you have to remain humble and coachable and hungry.
Well, the 11-0 start hasn't been easy. I mean, you've had some close games. Patrick Henry was an overtime game. You had the 61-58 win over Fayetteville Tech on the road, 77-71 win over Bryant and Stratton, and that was a close ball game, and then the one in Lewisburg that we just talked about. In those games, what are the things that you can point to that have kept us in the win column? And also, what have you and Coach Allen and Coach Tripp learned about this team and how they've been able to handle adversity?
Well, number one, like I've said earlier today or tonight, the best conditioned team will win in the end. And in all 4 of those games you just mentioned, I felt like our half-court execution late in the game, really on both ends, but especially offensively, we weren't tired, and maybe our opponent was, and we were able to out-execute them. And that's what, against the better teams, it comes down to, half-court execution. And a lot of people that see us play say, Coach Ridge or Matt, y'all just run and gun, which we do run. But there's a philosophy behind that, and we're a little bit more organized than maybe the average fan realizes in the half-court.
Well, we've got some folks listening. Kip Childress is watching, so thanks, Kip, for all you do for Storm basketball charity. Lassiter Ross is also watching, and Brandon Mullis is here, and he's watching as well. We've got our special guest. We'll take a break from this and bring Coach Tripp up. And I'll slide over here and let Coach Tripp come in and get
the legendary Coach David Tripp.
He is a legend. I saw there's a couple of basketballs in the trophy case there with his name on it.
He played in the Final Four.
He did, Elite Eight and Final Four, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Coach Tripp, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
We're glad to have you. And give us a little bit of background on how and when you came to Davidson at the time. I guess it was Davidson County Community College. How did you decide to come here as a player?
Well, I was taking classes at Rowan Cabarrus Community College, and there was an ad on Google about tryouts for the Storm. I knew a couple guys that wanted to come try out, but I honestly didn't have the confidence or the willpower to think I would make the team, because I seen that even back in 2014 they were ranked and they were playing in national tournaments, and honestly I just didn't feel like I had the skill set to play for them. So one of my friends pretty much convinced me to come. I tried out. Ridge loved me for some reason. I still to this day don't know what made me stand out. And I was actually one of the last guys to get put on the board. And it was just perfect timing. So he invited me back, and I did okay, and he offered me a spot on the team. So that's pretty much what brought me here.
Well, you're very humble. You did better than okay. In the 2 years you were here, the Storm was 60-10. While you were here as a player, you averaged 11.9 points a ball game, 56% field goal percentage, 6.2 rebounds a game as a sophomore. We talked about the Elite Eight and the Final Four trips that you were part of. What were some of your best memories here during those 2 years?
I think the entire process, like just thinking back from my sophomore year to my freshman year I struggled a lot mentally. The game was pretty fast. I never had a coach as demanding as Coach Ridge and as detailed as he was. So I had to pretty much pick up on the mental aspect, and then the guys that were in front of me were just so much more athletic. We got guys like Corbin Pierce, Kyle Ridley, who averaged 20 points a game before he tore his ACL. We had Isaiah Gill, who averaged about 16 a game. So we had some studs that were in front of me, and I never played in an environment like that in general. So I just had to learn how to get in where I could fit in, and then by my sophomore year, I was one of the top studs on the team. And Ridge pretty much humbled me every day leading up to my sophomore year to be humble, because just because I had one good game doesn't mean the opportunity was going to be there for me tomorrow. So I just had to keep working every single day, which pretty much helped me carry it over in my everyday life. So
after playing at Davidson-Davie, you moved on to Milligan University up near Johnson City, Tennessee, and had a really good career there. Tell us a little bit about what it was like transitioning from NJCAA basketball into NAIA competition.
It was nerve-wracking, honestly. The guys were a lot faster, stronger, bigger. NAIA is pretty much slept on because it's not a Division I or Division II or NCAA labeled, but people fail to realize that's where all the rejects go if they don't get the offer they want to get, or maybe they slipped up when they had the opportunity at a Division II. So I was playing against some pretty talented guys. I think the main transition was, like I said earlier, just being consistent. Ridge used to text my phone whenever I had a good game and said, "Hey, are you consistent? You had 20 points today, but can you do it tomorrow?" And I think that was the biggest thing, because there I was getting scouted against heavily. I was getting double teamed, triple teamed. So for me to average that much at a consistent level over 18 games says a lot. So that's definitely one of the biggest transitions, was just getting stronger and more athletic, I think.
You had a great career at Milligan. I went onto their website and looked at the record books, and your name popped up everywhere. 1,000+ points in your career there. You're talking about consistency. There were a couple of games in 2020, I think, against Kentucky Christian and maybe one against Point, within a couple of weeks apart, where you had 33 points in both of those ball games. You averaged 20.7 points a game in 2020. That's the seventh best in Milligan basketball history. So you're in the record books there, and you had a great career. It was more than just about basketball for you, though, wasn't it? I mean, I looked. You were all conference in your final year at Milligan, but you were also all academic, which says a lot about your desire and your commitment. As a student athlete, how were you able, and how hard was it, Coach, to balance that athletic and academic commitment to excellence?
Honestly, it really wasn't that hard, because I was dedicated to the game, and I knew academics came with basketball. So I knew it was no negotiation on which one I wanted to do. I know I had to do both, and I had to do it well consistently. On the academic standpoint, I was at a master's program, and I had to maintain over a 3.0. So I had to consistently get A's and B's in order for me to stay eligible. I couldn't get a 2.5 or 2.7 like everybody else. Like I said, I was in a master's program, so I had to have over a 3.0 in order to stay eligible to play. So, yeah, that pretty much is it for that one.
So after Milligan, you go to the East Coast Basketball League and you play for the Charlotte Tribe. You average 22 points a game there. You make the East Coast Basketball League All-Star team. Tell us about that experience.
It was a really good experience. I'm playing with a lot of big overseas guys that are getting paid a couple $1,000s a month to play. They're actually over there in Europe right now playing up until March. So it was a pretty much good experience, given that I was at a training camp in Indiana. I believe it was February 18th. I wound up coming back home the day before my birthday. And it pretty much has helped extend the love for the game because I kind of hit that wall once I got sent back home. So
you were invited to that TBL, the Basketball League camp in Indiana. I mean, that's a springboard maybe to playing overseas and internationally. You decided, though, to become a coach, right?
Yeah.
You come here. What sparked your interest in coaching?
I kind of wanted to give back, and I got tired of working at, factories and other jobs that I didn't feel fulfilled me. And at Milligan, my head coach, Coach Robinson, he actually offered me a job to work with him at Milligan. But it's just something about Coach Ridge and just this program in general. It's just electricity every time I come here. I just feel like even when I walk on the campus to the cafeteria, I just always get flashbacks of when I was a student here, and I always thought if I would make it out or not. It's just deeper for me, and I feel everything I do for this program is genuinely out of love because I've been here and I want to see these guys succeed just like I did.
What are your future career goals?
Honestly, if I don't become a recruiter somewhere at a Division II or Division I, I probably want to become a head coach at a high school. I kind of like the idea and the feeling of just changing these kids' life and just being an influence and just being able to relate to these guys. Like, it just does something different for me. It's a feeling I've never experienced before.
So in 15-plus years, I'd like to know what you've been part of this program as a player, and now in your first year as a coach. Coach Ridge had, I think, 6 weeks to put this program together 15-plus years ago. What are your thoughts on this basketball program, where it's come from and where it is today and where it can go?
It can only keep going higher. I think this program is elite. I'm pretty sure when he first started this program, it wasn't like that from the jump. But every year, Coach Ridge has proven himself. Even when they moved up to Division II, I know there was teams in the conference that probably doubted that we weren't going to be good enough to compete with them. And lo and behold, we proved them once again. So we have a great coach. The community is great. I'm seeing the same fans from when I played here. So if we keep doing things like that, sky's the limit for this program. I only see it growing.
It's more than a program, Coach. It's a family, right?
Definitely.
That's the thing. I'm curious to get your assessment on our current team here.
I think the current team that we have now is fun. We have a lot of returners, and as me being an ex-returner here, I know these guys know what to do. When we played at Fayetteville Tech was going on a heavy run. I gave Coach Ridge a suggestion and said, Coach, I think we should just let our sophomores go in and just play. They've been in this environment before, and I know they know what to do. And they came out and got the job done. So I think this team is very special. We're definitely starting to gel. Their shots are starting to fall in a lot more. They're starting to find each other. They're knowing each other's tendencies. So this team could definitely be scary come March.
Well, we're glad that you've come back here to cut your teeth in the coaching field. It's nice to have you back. And there's a lot you can offer to these young men in this program. So welcome back, Coach, and thanks for spending some time with us here.
Definitely. Thanks for having me.
Coach David Tripp. Coach, anything you want to?
Well, one thing, his story is very special to me. When he came here, he actually came from Hines Prep. Actually, Coach Hines was texting me a little bit ago asking for his name to be mentioned, so I'm going to mention it. David played for Coach Hines and, came here in that first year, like he said earlier, struggled a little bit because of the speed of the game. But I'll tell you what, just like I mentioned earlier about Jonathan Faust, David is definitely top 5 in terms of where they started and where they ended. He didn't look to transfer out. He stayed where he was, even though he didn't play much that first year. By the end of the year, he was in the rotation when we went to the Final Four. And then the next year he started and had multi-scholarships out of here. So any athlete that's listening, student athlete, I would encourage you not to always be looking to transfer, make your current situation better like Tripp did. Plant your feet, take a stand, and don't be so quick because the grass isn't always greener. And when you get there, you still got to mow it.
Okay, we got a question coming in, Coach, from Facebook from Nikita Dawkins. She says she enjoys watching these. But the question Nikita's got is, what drives you to inspire the young man off the court as well as you do? Let's see, what drives you to inspire your players off the court as much as you do on the court?
Well, first of all, I miss all the Dawkins. My family misses all of you. We still talk about all of you, not just Zai. Obviously, we miss Zai. But they're in their 1 year here in this program, they were definitely family. And they became family quickly, and we miss all of you. So thank you for joining us online tonight. I'm proud of Zai. I mean, he's killing it. He's Converse's best player, in my opinion, based on the stats that I'm seeing, looking at the games online. So really proud of him. But to answer her question, to me, it's much, 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 much bigger than basketball. Obviously, we're trying to win championships, but we're also trying to instill into these young men the type of standards and habits to help them off the court, not just obviously academically, but in every area of their life. So when they leave here, they can be a great husband, father, and employee one day for whomever it is they work for and whomever they marry and that sort of thing. So we try to make a lot of daily analogies to life, not just directly related to basketball. Like the quote of the day, most days at practice have nothing to do with basketball. And we are constantly trying to hold them to a high standard, not just for the purpose of helping our basketball team win games, but more importantly, so when they leave here, they'll be prepared to help the next coach win a championship, and most importantly, help them when they get done and they're out of college and they're in the real world. So, but the most important thing to me, and I know I fail every day at this, is that I hope that they somehow see Christ through me and everything I say and do, and I know I fail miserably at that, but that is ultimately the most important thing for me, and I know sometimes I really screw that part up.
We're human. Nikita Dawkins, thank you for that. And yes, Zai is killing it. He is tearing it up. So let's talk a little bit about, I would like to spotlight a player. And I was hoping he'd be here tonight, but he's not.
Yeah.
But we'll get him on. Chase Mebane is really the guy I want to talk about. We talked a little bit about him in some of the game highlights. But he was named the NJCAA D2 Player of the Week on 11/30 against Wake Tech. He had 26 points, 14 rebounds, 2 steals to lead the team to victory. Talk about the magnitude of this recognition by the NJCAA and tell us a little bit about Chase and how you've seen him develop here over the years at Davidson-Davie.
Well, first of all, being National Player of the Week is a big-time honor. I mean, there's in Division II over 100 junior colleges. So for Chase to be named the Player of the Week that week was very, very impressive, and I hope he and his family celebrated that as they should. But Chase is the kind of player, like I was saying earlier, if you look at where he started and where he's trending towards finishing his career here, like Tripp, it's amazing to watch these guys develop physically, but especially mentally. And obviously, Chase has gotten bigger and stronger. I mean, when he walks through the door, he's a physical presence. But he's also a much quicker thinker. He's supremely confident. And I couldn't say those things about him 2 years ago between his ears. We were unsure about him mentally. We weren't sure if he was completely bought in. But over the course of 2 years, he is completely invested. And late in the game, we do go to him a lot late. For a reason. We want to get the ball inside and play inside out, think layups and threes in that order. And Chase is one of our biggest and most athletic and best finishers around the basket. So we're going to continue to emphasize to get the ball to him on the block throughout the remainder of this season.
It seems like this year he's recognizing more that he is that type of impact player. Just a lot of confidence, like you said. What does his role as a team leader look like away from the basketball game?
Well, if you can get Chase to talk, let me know. I'll hire you. But, Chase does talk more than he did. But Chase leads by example. He goes about his business. He did really well in the classroom this semester. Super proud of how he did, just like almost all of our players. I'm so proud of this group academically. They absolutely killed it. We had, I think, out of our 20 players, 11 on the NJCAA all-academic team, which is over 50% of our team. So they have a GPA higher than 3.0. And we had several players with all A's. But Chase continues to grow, not just on but off the court. In film session, he's very in tune and paying attention to what we're teaching to prepare for our next opponent, and of course the scouting report. So there's a lot that goes into winning games at this level and the way in which we prepare every game. And I'm so proud of how Chase is preparing between his ears and physically.
Well, we're going to talk now a little bit about the new year. It's not too far away, and we've got Sandhills, January the 1st. What a way to kick off the new year. They're, I think, third in the nation in among D3 teams, 12-2. I think both of their losses have been to D1 teams, Spartanburg Methodist and Caldwell Tech, who we know. They've beaten Lenore twice. They've beaten Pitt twice. Wake Tech once. They're a tough opponent. 103 points a ball game, Coach. We'll talk a little bit about them. But before we get into Sandhill, let's talk about the big announcement. We mentioned at the beginning of the show there was a big announcement for Storm fans. What's going on for this Sandhill game?
So this summer, the National Junior College announced that the NJCAA for men's football and basketball, that they're going to pick a game of the week. And they did it during the football season, and now they're in the process of doing it. And we have been selected for the NJCAA Game of the Week with Sandhills on January 1st, New Year's Day, where ESPN will, fly in, and they will broadcast the game on ESPN+. So for our Storm fans that are not able to get a ticket, you can watch the game on ESPN+. They have the streaming rights, so neither Sandhills nor Davidson-Davie can stream the game. So if you're not able to get a ticket, I would encourage you to somehow, some way, maybe pay for 1 month subscription. I think it's $9.99. If you go to pay, I think there may be a 7-day free trial. I'm not sure about that part. But Sandhills did, mail me a certain number of tickets for my players' parents, my game day workers, my donors, and my family and those types of people. But unfortunately, I don't have enough tickets for the whole community. And I hope our community understands that. If I have extras left over, I will certainly post that closer to January 1st, probably December 30th or 31st, around that time. But as of right now, I'm in the process of distributing those tickets. And the way I've allotted it, I don't have hardly any left, and I am waiting on some people to get back to me. So I'm not really sure if I'll have extras or not at this point.
I went online today, and I watched one of the games that they had done earlier against Tallahassee and Daytona State. They do a great job. This is going to be some nice exposure for both of your programs, but nice exposure for your players. Have you guys talked about the opportunity, and have you talked much about it with the team?
A little bit. I don't want to blow it out of proportion. I want to approach it just like any other game that we've had. I'm a firm believer, and that's one of the reasons the last 2 years we've done so well in Danville is our kids have played loose in the postseason, and I want them to play loose on January 1st. So we have talked about ESPN being there. Obviously, I'm not going to hide anything like that. They should own that and enjoy that, but at the same time, the goal is to get out of Pinehurst with a win. And like you said, Sandhills is going to play incredibly hard. Mike Apple's going to have those guys going. The gym's going to be rocking. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. It's something the kids will remember the rest of their life, especially with ESPN flying in.
Have you had a chance to scout the Flyers yet?
I have. Coach Allen and I, who's here tonight, drove 3 hours to watch them play at Pitt the day after we played at Lewisburg. And Sandhills, like you mentioned earlier, has now beaten Pitt twice. They've beaten Lenore. They've beaten several teams in our league. And they're a typical Mike Apple team. They're going to run like us, and they're going to crash the O boards, and they are going to move that ball, and it should be a fun game to watch, whether you're there in person or you're watching online, ESPN+.
A lot of history between these two teams. That's in the past, but do your players, is that something that you guys talk about, or do they think about, or is this is a game I got to focus on, regardless of what's happened in the past?
It's an interesting question. Coach Allen the other night when we were out scouting, mentioned to me that our current players don't really understand the rivalry, and it's a valid point because they've only been here, in most cases, 1 or 2 years, and in a few cases, 3 years. And the entire time that they've been here, Sand Hills is not in D2, so they're not even in our league anymore. But there is a lot of tradition and a lot of history there, and not much love lost. So, we've had some heated games, fun games to be a part of, but it's a typical Davidson-Sand Hills atmosphere on January 1st, and I can't wait to be a small part of that. It should be a lot of fun. I hope our players will come ready and loose to play.
Well, it's going to be a great way to kick off the new year. How much time after the Christmas holiday are you going to have to prepare for that game?
1 week. The guys report the next morning, December 26th, and we'll have a very intense practice that morning and run some of that Christmas turkey and whatever else they ate over the last week and a half off, and hopefully have a great week of preparation. And at the end of the day, it's a non-conference game. It's going to be a fun non-conference game. It's two of the better teams in the country. But at the end of the day, it's a non-conference game, so we don't want to make it something that it's not, So it should be a lot of fun.
Well, a couple of days after that game, you got another non-conference game with Central Carolina. It's a team that we've already beaten this year, 113-51, big margin. They're 2-12 coming into Brinkley with a 7-game losing streak. Haven't faced the team once and already beaten them like you did. What are you expecting out of this contest?
Well, number one, they've played nothing but an incredible schedule. I mean, they've played back-to-back against high-level Division I junior colleges. I mean, it's amazing, their schedule. So their record does not speak to how good of a team they are, and they certainly have gotten a lot better if you look at their scores from the first time we've played them. So I will certainly approach that game just like I am Sand Hills. I've already started preparing for that game just like I have Sand Hills, and we don't prepare any differently for any team, whether it's South Suburban in middle of March or whether it's Central Carolina on January the 4th.
Well, after that one, you get into conference play. So the conference play starts again. Tough conference game on the 7th at home against Pitt. So you have to turn around and then play them again on the road January 14th. What are the challenges with playing the same opponent in such a short time span?
Well, you know each other well. I mean, the kids aren't going to forget what happened a week ago. Or in this case, I think it's exactly a week. But, Pitt's a difficult team to prepare for because they are incredibly athletic. And they've got a couple kids that are huge, and they play way above the rim. They protect the rim, alter shots, and then they've got some little guards that are really crafty, and it's hard to keep them in front of you. So that should be a fun game to be a part of. They press a lot, so we're going to have to take care of the ball and value the ball, which is not something that this team's been great at. So that's something I've got to do a better job as a coach to get our kids to make the easy play, meet passes, and concentrate on their passes.
Well, we're getting a lot of comments on the game with Sand Hills on ESPN Plus. So Nikita Dawkins is saying I need tickets, and Keith Cutt says congratulations, what an honor of recognition. A couple of more on here too. So a lot of folks going to be tuned into that, I'm sure. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, as we did on the last show, let some of the Storm fans know what's going on with some of our former players, because we've got several players playing at higher levels. And if you would, Coach, give us an update on how things are going with those guys.
Well, I just drove in from Charlotte. I've been recruiting all day, and I sat with Rob Perrin, the head coach for Catawba. And the first thing he said to me was, Matt, thank you for sending Javion to Catawba. We absolutely love him. He's one of our best players, if not our best player. I think he's leading them in scoring, but he's also a leader in energy. The way he expects to win, as you well know, just is contagious with the entire team. So I'm really pleased that Javion is somewhere that he's experienced success, because if the team wasn't winning, knowing Javion like I know him, he would not be a happy camper. So LJ, of course, is at Lees McRae. He's been up and down just as their team has this year, but I spoke to him on the way here as well, and he has a great attitude towards the future and what he's got to overcome and the team's got to overcome going forward. Uzziah, as I mentioned earlier, is absolutely killing it at Converse. Their leading scorer. I think they were on a 5-game winning streak until they lost recently. Tim Bullware is killing it as well at Greensboro College. He's one of their best players. I saw their head coach yesterday when I was in Greensboro recruiting at the HACO tournament, and he absolutely loves Tim. He's shooting above 40% from three. And then, of course, if you go back a few more years, Jamarius Harrison, who played at Lees McRae when he left here, has transferred. He's playing at Division I East Tennessee State. and he's had some big games recently as well. So all 5 of those guys I could not be happier for. They're big-time players, but more importantly, big-time people that I stay in touch with.
Good guys, and it's good to see them having the success they're having, and we knew they would. So we're at the end of the show, or close to the end of the show. Give you a chance, Coach, if you would, take a moment to recognize our sponsors and supporters of Storm Athletics, because none of this would happen without them.
Well, the tickets that were mailed to me from Coach Apple was sponsored by a donor in our community, so our players' parents, and other people that are receiving those aren't having to pay for them. It's just another example of how we truly are one big family here, and there's just so many people that are right outside our inner circle of coaches and players that are so invested, like yourself. I mean, your preparation for tonight and knowing all Coach Tripp's stats when he played here in Milligan, I mean, it's nothing short of amazing, and we're so blessed to have so many people like yourself and Jared Bowman behind the scenes, Coach Mullis, of course, Coach Allen and Coach Tripp. My wife and kids are so supportive. I could not be where I am without them, of course, and my mom and dad. So I'm just so blessed to be a small part of this big basketball family here at Davidson-Davie. But there's one person that has entered our family here recently, and he's actually here tonight. Since we got a few minutes, I thought I might invite him up if that's okay with you.
Bring him up.
So
Or her. Bring her.
It's
Okay.
him. About 2 or 3 months ago, I got a phone call, I believe it was, from Mark Centers with Nations of Coaches. And I'm going to let, if Mark would come on up, Mark tell you kind of what he is and what their organization's about. He's spoken to our team on numerous occasions. He comes to our games. I had a Christmas camp this past weekend, and he worked 2 of the days and didn't even ask for a dime. So just a great guy that's been around the game his whole life, and he's been an inspiration to me, not just in terms of our players, but he is a godly man that I appreciate his time and coming out and being around our players.
Come on in, Mark.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for all you do and for your support of this program. How did you become a supporter?
I tell you what, my wife went to school here a few years ago. She went to nursing school here, and I heard they had a basketball program over here, and I heard they were pretty good. And one day she was over here taking class, and I just stuck my head in the gym. I saw some of the guys in there practicing, and I thought, these guys are pretty good. At the time, I was in law enforcement. And the last 6 months, I got involved with a ministry called Nations of Coaches. It's been around for about 15 years. We serve men's college basketball coaches. That's what we do. And the first college I decided to come to on my first day on the job was right over here, because it's about 45 minutes away from my house. And I met Coach Ridge. We talked. I told him about what we do. And basically what we do is, say you got a college basketball coach that they're struggling with their finances at home. They're behind on their mortgage. We'll come in and offer to help them. We'll come in and just try to meet them where they're at. If they're behind on their medical bills, we're going to try to help them. Some of the small college coaches don't make the money the bigger college coaches do, like ACC schools. But we're trying to serve and meet everybody's needs. Everybody's got different needs. I've met some ACC coaches that are amazing people. I've met some small college coaches that are amazing people. But at the end of the day, we're all people, and we all have things going on off the court. And I've had the opportunity just to meet some coaches at other schools. And we're just trying to, like I say, if they need help with marriage counseling, we're going to help them. We had one coach that had a roof that needed to be replaced on his house, so we helped him with that. He couldn't afford it. We try to place a character coach on our college basketball teams. That's somebody that comes in alongside the coaching staff and the players, and just like Coach was talking about, inspires these guys to be great men, not just on the court but off the court, and somebody that these men can confide in. And so that's what we're actually have talked about doing here at the community college here at Davidson-Davie, is bringing somebody on. And so we're looking at that. So we're excited. I'm excited about being here. I played junior college basketball at Spartanburg Methodist years ago. And so it's been 30-some years now. So I'm showing my age, but I'm thankful to be here. I've met these guys. Coach Ridge is an amazing guy. I like his attention to detail, his energy, and it carries over into the players and the way they play. And I know they had a real good year last year, so I'm excited about what they're going to be doing this year.
Have you had a chance to see many of their games?
I have. I've been to about 3 or 4 games so far, and I've actually started bringing my daughters. They want to start coming with me. So we've been to some games. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've gotten to know some of the people in the community here. So it's been great. It's been nice.
It's a great college. It's a great community. I grew up in this community, and I tell you, you come in here and you start to get around this program, and it's addictive, and it is. I mean, you want to be part of the family here. It's a different feel, and so I know what you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
So as you've seen some of the players so far, I was curious what you think about the team, and any thoughts on, since you played JUCO ball?
I like the pace of the game. The guys run hard. You know, they play well together. Something I said the other day, I told my daughter, I said, you know, Coach Ridge has got several players on his team. His second five are as good as the first five. He can interchange. He could have a different starting five every game because everybody is so talented. And I just enjoy watching these guys play and the way they play. And you got guys that are big guys now. They can step out and shoot the three. You know, when I was playing college ball, big guys didn't shoot the three. But now you got guys bringing the ball up the court, shooting threes. The game has changed a lot. The pace of the game has changed a lot in the last few years. But I've enjoyed you can tell that they've got chemistry and the camaraderie, the relationships. You can tell there's a relationship. It's not just teammates, they're friends, and you can see that. And I think that's part of the reason they have such good success is that you can tell these guys love each other. They appreciate each other. And I've seen some programs that don't have that right now, and they're struggling right now. So it's kind of interesting. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's a team in every sense of the word. It really is. Did you guys play that fast at Spartanburg Methodist?
We were pretty good at Spartanburg Methodist.
Yeah.
We had a lot of potential back in 1988 when I was there, and we started out kind of slow, but then we ended up being in the Region 10 championship, and we lost to North Greenville by like 4 points, I think. So it was a good time.
So how long have you been with the Nations of Coaches? How long is that?
Wow, I've only been with these guys for 3 months.
Okay.
So I'm a rookie, you know, and I'm learning from guys. The guys on my staff, there's a guy, Mike Lightfoot. He's a basketball coaching legend in Indiana. He's on staff with us now. And we just got a bunch of guys that coach college basketball. I'm one of the few guys on staff that I didn't coach college basketball. I'm 53. I'm still playing the game. I just love to play. And I played college ball. I played pro ball in China for a little while. And so I'm learning a lot from the guys on staff because they all coach college ball. So I'm just a player. I'm 53. I still love to play. I'm a gym rat. So.
How did you like that experience in China? Where'd you live in China?
Oh, wow. I was in Hong Kong.
Okay.
I started out in these little provinces outside of Hong Kong, and I gradually worked my way into playing in Hong Kong. And I enjoyed it. You know, they put you up in a hotel. Everything was paid for. I didn't make a lot of money. It's $500 a week, maybe $600 a week, but I just loved the game. It is very competitive back there. That was back in 1994. And it was an interesting story. Assistant coach at Wake Forest, Ricky Stokes, who was coaching basketball there, I'd go over there and play pickup ball in the summertime. And it'd be Muggsy and Dale Curry and Tim Duncan, a lot of great players. I had the opportunity and privilege just to be out there on the court with these guys. And Ricky Stokes took an interest in me. He knew I was this little small college player across town. I'd gone from Spartanburg Methodist to Piedmont Bible College. So I was across town at the Bible College, and he knew I wanted to try to play after college. So he worked it out, got me some tryouts, and doors just opened up. And he got me hooked up with the ACC All-Star Tour that used to tour Barnstorm in the springtime back in the 80s and 90s. And then that opened up doors for me to go to China and play for a little while. So it was a really good time. Great experience.
Yeah, that's
great experience.
I traveled over there. We got an office in Shenzhen, which is across from Hong Kong.
Good deal.
In '93 it was a little fishing village, and now it's a city of like 15 million people.
It's amazing. It's amazing how many people are over there. Beautiful country.
So we're glad you're part of coming in and doing some work here, and welcome to the Nations of Coaches.
Thank you.
3 months. We'll talk to you in 10 years, right?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Mark, a lot.
I appreciate you guys too. I really do. And everybody's made me feel like family, so I appreciate my time with you guys so far.
We're looking
Had a
forward
great
to the
time.
future.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Before we sign off, I want to say a couple more things that I just remembered, if it's all right with you.
Oh, absolutely. This is your show.
So after the Sand Hills game, obviously we play Central Carolina at home, and then on that Saturday, January 7th, will be hopefully the first game that we unveil the new digital scoreboard that will be going up on the 5th and 6th behind the engineering of none other than Jared Bowman and the team that will be flying in to install that. And I can't thank Jared enough, and especially our sponsors like the Todd Hunts of the world at Jerry Hunt Super Center that have just graciously given to our basketball program and our athletic program. And we couldn't be who we are without those guys. That's the first thing I wanted to mention. We'll have a digital scoreboard as well as a digital scores table, hopefully up and running on that Saturday, January 7th versus Pitt. And then the second thing, before we sign off, if you're listening, Dr. Hartness, we just want you to know that all of us, not just myself, but all of us are praying for you. We will continue to pray for the great physician to heal you, and that he will comfort both you and your wife and family, and that we love you.
Yeah, I second that, Dr. Hartness. Absolutely, thoughts and prayers with you, and we love you very, very much. So, want to thank you, Coach Tripp. Appreciate you a whole lot, and everybody that helps put on the Coaches Show. Jared Bowman, we've got Brandon Mullis here today. Mark, thank you for being part of this.
We're going to have to get Coach Allen up here soon, too. And he's here with his girlfriend, so that's coming.
We should have had him up here tonight.
That's coming. That's coming.
All right, so we got plenty more shows left. Our next show is what? Next Coach Show, January 5th, I believe, 7 p.m. right here.
Yep.
At Brinkley. But the big game, January 1st.
Yeah, well.
At Sand Hills.
It's a big game, but all of them are big. We need to get, your partner in crime on game night in Brinkley Gym, Kevin Gardner, up here, as well as and Mr. Scott Overton, who's been on the score clock for 16 straight years. We got to get Scott up here as well. So
we got a lot of stuff left for the remainder of this season. So we want to thank you for joining us and for supporting Storm Athletics, Storm Basketball, this program. We hope you have a very Merry Christmas, safe, healthy, and Happy New Year, and we will see you in January.
Thank you, Miles. We're going to have to get Coach Allen up here soon, too. And he's here with his girlfriend, so that's coming.
We should have had him up here tonight.
That's coming.
All right, so we got plenty more shows left. Our next show is what? Next Coach Show, January 5th, I believe, 7 p.m. right here.
Yep.
At Brinkley. But the big game, January 1st.
Yeah, well,
At Sand Hills.
it's a big game, but all of them are big. We need to get, your partner in crime on game night in Brinkley Gym, Kevin Gardner, up here as well as and Mr. Scott Overton, who's been on the score clock for 16 straight years. We got to get Scott up here as well. So.
We got a lot of stuff left for the remainder of this season. So we